where your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. You'll find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook or on YouTube at WTIM TV. I have the Christian County TRIAD program and Taylorville Police Department Officer Kirsten Beeman here, and she's going to talk a little bit about that TRIAD program. It's great to have you here, Officer Beeman. Oh, cell phone. It happens. Anyway, great to have you here, Officer Beeman.
It's great to be here.
All right. So remind me, what is TRIAD, if you would?
TRIAD is a joint initiative with police departments, seniors, and you can also have social services and state's attorney's offices that work together to help make seniors safe, educate them on different things, and also just it's a good way to socialize and find out what's going on in your communities.
I understand you meet once a month and you usually have a theme to talk about. What did you guys talk about this month?
So this month we talked about weather preparedness and emergency alerts for weather. We had Leroy Climola from this radio station, and we also had Jeff Stoner from the Christian County EMA, who's also a Taylorville firefighter.
And you guys talked about the different types of weather, especially with winter here. I'd imagine you would go over the kind of announcements from, say, the National Weather Service and what each of them mean and how to prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we all remember the tornado of 2018, and just talking about, how sometimes with Illinois weather, it's a little weird and a little hinky, and sometimes freaky weather happens, and how to just stay safe and prepared.
How do you prepare for the winter? And specifically, I want to know, traveling from point A to point B, are there things to remember when you are trying to prepare for the winter and cold weather? What would you offer seniors that kind of winter preparedness tips?
Absolutely. Always make sure that you've got, with cell phones these days, we'd like to pretend like our car is always going to be on, but chances are there might be something that happens where your car battery dies and you don't have a way to charge your cell phone. I always recommend having a portable power bank to charge your cell phone and a charging cord in your vehicle, just to make sure that, you have a way to charge that in case something does happen. Additionally, always have some blankets and some warm clothes in there. If you don't typically wear boots in the winter, it might be nice to have, some heavy boots that you put in your trunk. That way, if you ever do get stranded or something happens and you have to get out of your car, you're dressed appropriately for the weather or have the ability to dress appropriately. Sometimes people may say, oh, I need to get to my trunk. Well, you also don't want to get soaked when you do that. So if you have stuff in there that you can change into for the time being, or something that can help you, that's fantastic. It's just one of those, I don't recommend, putting spare gas in the trunk of your car or anything crazy like that if you run out of fuel, but it's very important to make sure you have, some water and some, non-perishable food items that you can put too, in case you do get stranded and have to wait a little bit for help. Right. It's just very important to think of the, what if scenarios and kind of go through that. And we'll be looking to put a list together of things that we recommend people putting out in their car.
Off the top of my head, I'm thinking flares, maybe, just to let people know, hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road. Don't come in my area. Kitty litter is the other thing that I was thinking of, just to get, if in case you get stuck, put it underneath your tires.
And that might be able to help. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the vehicle and weight and everything else. And the other thing is sometimes you could actually be putting yourself in more danger by getting out of your vehicle. So it's one of those where you kind of have to weigh the risk and whether, what you're wanting to do is worth it. Always put your hazards on if you're flashing. And we recommend typically staying in your car with your seatbelt on in case someone does hit you. That way you're not jostled around.
And then wait for help to come.
Yep, absolutely. Call for help. Usually if there is a bad blizzard or something, it could be a little bit, especially if there's a lot more. But making sure you stay put and with your vehicle is very important.
Okay. And those are all the kind of things that you talked about at your meeting this month. And I understand you have another meeting coming up. You'll have to figure out, I'm sure. It's still a few weeks away, so you have to figure out what you're going to be talking about. But wanted to give you a chance to talk about when that meeting is and what you think might be talking and doing about there.
Yeah. The next meeting is going to be on Thursday, December 1st at 9:30 in the morning. And we hold our meetings currently in the basement of City Hall. We are still in talks about switching that up at some point, but for now, with the size of group we have, the basement's working really well. not this meeting, but in the future meeting, probably next year, we are going to be looking at doing what is generally known as a fashion show, but it's not what you would normally think of as a fashion show. It's going to be bringing people in from the community that you may see in their uniforms and having them tell you what they do, if they have to come talk to you, what kind of questions they'll ask, and things like that to kind of help people know if something is a red flag and if that person isn't who they say they are. Things like that to kind of help our seniors know.
Right, especially with scams being so prevalent in day-to-day life, not just targeting, regular folks, but it really seems like they target seniors quite a bit too. Without, I don't want you to necessarily give a as is opinion. I guess I want your opinion. Why do you feel that seniors become so vulnerable to scams?
A lot of times there are a couple of factors that go into play. Some is isolation. Some seniors don't have family. They don't have anyone looking out for them, taking care of them, being hands-on. And that can also make them very vulnerable to, financial scams and other things. Also make them, vulnerable to having a romantic relationship with someone that over the internet or something else that they don't know. And that's a good way for financial scam to happen too. One thing that I've noticed as well is they were raised in a different time. You didn't have people going around and trying to exploit you and having ill intentions. A lot of times you have them say, back when I was a kid, we left the doors unlocked. You could leave your bike unlocked and no one would ever touch it. They still have that trusting instinct, and it's really hard for them to comprehend that these days, unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that don't have that good moral compass and will take advantage. And so you see that a lot, is that it's one of the two typically. Is they're very trusting and they believe that what they're doing is either to help someone, or they're scared, or they're isolated. And I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
What are some telltale signs of scams that you see in the not just here, but anywhere?
Some of them are if there's threats being made, don't tell someone, or they're using scare tactics. That's just one of those things that it's always a red flag to me, is if someone goes, well, you can't tell anyone, because if you do, I mean, something bad's going to happen. You should always be able to talk to someone about it. If something bad is happening, there's no reason for it to be hidden. So to me, that's a big red flag, especially, when they say, you have a loved one that's been hurt or they're in trouble. Okay, why would you not be able to tell their family members? Why are they calling grandma or grandpa instead of calling mom or dad or brother or sister? If you really didn't want to know, chances are you're going to call your sibling.
Right.
I mean, that's just one of those where kids know, hey, we don't want mom and dad to know. We're going to call our sibling. We're not going to call grandma and grandpa and put them in that situation. So that's one of those really big, signs. Also, gift cards, any type of gift card or money order, that is usually a very big red flag. It's one thing if you're buying gift cards to send to your grandkids or, your nieces or nephew. That's one thing. But when people are asking you to pay them in gift cards, you should absolutely tell them, no way. The problem with gift cards is once you've given them those codes, there's no way to get that money back. It's gone. And it's a lot harder to track. So it's just better off to make sure that you know who you're talking to. And sometimes knowing who you're talking to means asking questions to ensure that. I mean, we all know that things get hacked. People are able to gain some information off the internet. It's just really important to make sure that you're being as careful as possible.
And if someone thinks they detect the scam, what can they do?
You can hang up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hang up. You can call the police department and talk to us if you have questions. Typically, you can play it back for us, what was said, and we can tell you, hey, yeah, this was a scam. Most of the time, they're also not using numbers that if you call back, you can actually reach anyone. It'll either be someone who has no idea what's been going on because their number's been what we call spoofed, which is very common, unfortunately, or it's a 1-800 type number that doesn't really come back to anything and it's not active. So one of those things that I always say is hang up. And if they're saying that they're like a financial institution or something else where you can call that place, hang up, dial the correct number, and then call that number back. And chances are you're going to say, hey, can I talk to Jim? He said he was working today, and they'll go, we don't even have a Jim. And that's one of those things is when you have scammers, they don't know who works where because they don't do their homework that far. They're just hoping that you play into their scheme.
Right. And that you don't hang up the phone. And that's what they're betting on.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is Taylorville Police Department Officer Kirsten Beeman. She's talking about the Christian County TRIAD program, which will have their next meeting Thursday, December 1st. At what time again?
9:30.
9:30 in the morning at the in the downstairs area of the municipal building in Taylorville. And so that's coming up here in December. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Christian County TRIAD program after this short timeout. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first.
WTIM. Markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn mostly lower, beans lower. Chicago wheat trading higher. December corn 658 3/4, up 3/4. March corn down 1 3/4, 661 1/4. May corn 660 1/4, down 2 1/2. November beans down 7 1/2, 1448. January beans down 4 1/4, 1445 3/4. March beans 1449, down 4 3/4. December Chicago wheat 819, up 5 1/4. March wheat up 3 1/2, 838 3/4. December bean meal 407.10, down 30 cents. December bean oil down 13 cents, 76.84. In the livestock market, November feeders 177.05, up a dime. December live cattle up 47 cents, 152 even. December lean hogs 84.62, up 27 cents. In the energy market, December crude oil down 83 cents, 88.13. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
If you're 40 and over, you'll recognize these artists by their first names. Frank, Dean, Sammy, Andy, Nat, Diana, Michael. Well, here's the big news. You can now hear Central Illinois' largest music library with over 3,500 songs on air and online at 965thechill.com. Tune in on the FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 965thechill.com.
Huge investment, probably the biggest of your life. Huge decision. Who's my realtor? Easy answer. Curvy Real Estate. Joe and his agents have been living, eating, and breathing this stuff for years. Curvy knows how important this process is to you. That's why your research, combined with Curvy's knowledge, energy, and effort, make a powerful partnership that'll land you in the home you really want. Buying or selling, you'll get the feeling Curvy's got your best interest in mind, because they do. See them on West Springfield Road or online at curvyrealestate.com.
Hello, I'm Dick Adams, the new Executive Director of the Christian County Economic Development Corporation. From helping Taylorville and Pana establish and promote their industrial parks to constant communication with existing and prospective employers, our ongoing work has helped grow and attract many businesses. Funding comes from both public and private sources and is vital to continuing our work toward attracting more jobs. Find out more online at christiancountyedc.org.
This announcement donated by the Miller Media Group.
Comfort, durability, the best mattress you've ever owned. And they're not kidding. See the all-new Bemco Arctic Breeze, Max Life, and Chatham & Wells mattresses from the guys at Just Beds. This month, twin Bemco mattresses $149, queen mattresses just $229. Get the best night's sleep and save up to $300 with the all-new Bemco Arctic Breeze, Max Life, and Chatham & Wells mattresses. As always, free delivery, setup, and removal. Visit the Yawn Exterminators at Just Beds on Montvale Drive, Springfield.
Just Beds. Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. You know, we're here in studio right now with the Christian County TRIAD program, and we have Taylorville Police Department Officer Kirsten Beeman here in studio, and we're trying to keep the seniors informed and safe and during winter. One of the things before we get into it, even though it's not really TRIAD related, the Taylorville Safe Passage program, which I know is you're probably very familiar with, Officer Beeman, is having Denise Evans give a presentation tomorrow at the senior citizens of Christian County. So I guess I kind of wanted to, even though it's not TRIAD, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of, preview that, if you would. That's tomorrow at 11:40 in the morning at the Senior Citizen Center.
Yeah. So Safe Passage, as many of you probably already know, is a great way that we help addicts. And that's whether it's drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Basically, if you're, suffering from addiction, we want to help you. And that's whether you're young or old. I mean, we've had kids go through the program that are teenagers or just below teenage years. And we've also had, people who are 60 plus go through it. Addiction doesn't choose people based on their financial status or anything. It just happens sometimes, and it's one of those where there's no shame in it. And having Denise and Debbie helping with that Safe Passage program is fantastic. We have sent so many people through, and we've seen quite a few success stories. Well, yeah, we always see the ones that have a relapse and get arrested again. That doesn't mean that they're not worthy of another chance. Addiction is a really hard cycle to break, especially when you consider that there's usually a lot of trauma involved and sometimes mental health issues. So having Safe Passage, helps target one of those things, which is obviously getting the rehab, but it also allows you to connect with other resources like getting therapy and tackling those, issues that really help the drug addiction just fester.
And again, that's some of the things that Denise Evans will be talking about tomorrow at the Senior Citizen Center of Christian County. That's Tuesday, November 15th. Officer Beeman, me and you talked a little bit about winter preparedness and keeping yourself safe, especially involving your car. But we neglected to mention about, trying to avoid that emergency and keeping your car right. So what are some things to remember for seniors as you enter these colder months to keep that vehicle running perfectly well?
Always make sure that you take your car somewhere and get it checked out. Take it to a trusted mechanic. You don't have to, spend hundreds of dollars to get it checked out, but having, that once a year check, make sure your tires are good, make sure that your oil's good, make sure that basically all the little things that go towards helping your car function in a safe manner are checked. Tire pressure is a big thing. You want to make sure also that your tires aren't too bald. If they're too bald, then you're more likely to go off the road and have an issue. So making sure that, throughout the year, if you're able to, saving up for, a little, replacement of tires. They always say, make sure you rotate them as well, get them balanced, get your alignment figured out. Those are always something that's really good to have done before winter, because let's be honest, if you don't do it before it snows, then you're going to be wishing you had.
Yeah, those are some good words of wisdom from Officer Beeman. I wanted to know about with the TRIAD program, if you guys are looking for volunteers or how anyone, not just seniors, can get involved with the TRIAD program if it's something that interests them.
So right now we aren't having exactly volunteers, but we are always looking for guest speakers who may have something that pertains to seniors. And if that's something that you have a topic you'd like to speak on, I absolutely encourage you to reach out. You can reach us on Facebook at the Christian County, Illinois TRIAD page, or you can also reach out to us on the PD page as well. And I'll see that as well. We also have a email, which is on our TRIAD page. So, there's just a lot of ways to reach us. And, our goal is to help make seniors safe and help them to flourish in their environment. And if you're someone that wants to help do that and you have something that you can offer to teach, we're more than happy to have you.
Now, donations, anything else that you are looking for here as you enter the winter time? I guess I just want to know if you guys need any help or looking for any other assistance.
So we actually do take donations, and those donations are going to be used for field trips and stuff along those lines. Our goal is to make the Christian County TRIAD program open to everyone and not make it where our seniors have to pay to participate. So money can go towards that. It also goes towards coffee and breakfast foods as well, because our mornings, are consisting of meetings. So we like to make sure that they have food and coffee, especially in the colder winter months.
Taylorville Police Department Officer Kirsten Beeman talking about the Christian County TRIAD program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
WTIM.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville.